it's Melanie. Welcome to my channel. Today I have a library book sale haul for you, so stay tuned. So our local library has a sale twice a year, and I went, and oh my goodness, did I get a lot of books. So I'm actually breaking this into two parts because I have books that I purchased, and then I got to go back another day and I got a lot more books that I got free. So today I'm going to show you all of the books that I purchased, and then in part two I'll show you all of the free books that I got. So let me just tell you, as far as price goes on these books, the way they had it set up is all of like the children's and young adult books were 50 cents for a paperback and $1 for a hardcover. And all of the adult books or the collections, they were $1 for a paperback and $2 for a hardcover. And then there's one special edition book that I got that I think it was $5 that I paid for it. So let's just get into all of the books that I got. You're only seeing about half of them here. There's more. There's another stack just as big right here. Okay, let's get into it. The first book here is The Beauty of the End by Debbie Howells, and this is actually an ARC. And this just says, from the acclaimed author of The Bones of You comes a haunting and heartbreaking new psychological thriller about a man thrust into the middle of a murder investigation, forced to confront the secrets of his ex-lover's past. Set in a borderland where the past casts its shadow on the present, with a time-shifting narrative that will mesmerize and surprise, The Beauty of the End is both a masterpiece of suspense and a powerful rumination on lost love. And I thought the cover was really pretty and sounded interesting. Okay, so the next book we have here is Hallowed, an unearthly novel by Cynthia Hand. And this is actually the second book in the series. So I pulled up on Goodreads what it says about the first book because I don't have the first book here. It says, in the beginning, there's a boy standing in the trees. Clara Gardner has recently learned that she's part angel. Having angel blood run through her veins not only makes her smarter, stronger, and faster than humans, a word she realizes that no longer applies to her, but it means that she has a purpose. Something she was put on this earth to do. Figuring out what that is, though, isn't easy. Her visions of a raging forest fire and an alluring stranger lead her to a new school in a new town. When she meets Christian, who turns out to be the boy of her dreams, literally, everything seems to fall into place and out of place at the same time, because there's another guy, Tucker, who appeals to Clara's less angelic side. As Clara tries to find her way in a world she no longer understands, she encounters unseen dangers and choices she never thought she'd have to make between honesty and deceit, love and duty, good and evil. When the fire from her vision finally ignites, will Clara be ready to face her destiny? Unearthly is a moving tale of love and fate, and the struggle between following the rules and following your heart. And now I just have to get the first book. Okay, so next up we have P.S. I Still Love You by Jenny Han. And again, this is a second book in a series, and I don't have the first book yet, so I pulled it up on Goodreads, so I will tell you what this says. What if all the crushes you ever had found out how you felt about them, all at once? 16-year-old Laura Jean Song keeps her love letters in a hat box her mother gave her. They aren't love letters that anyone else wrote for her. These are ones she's written. One for every boy she's ever loved. 5 in all. When she writes, she pours out her heart and soul and says all the things she would never say in real life, because her letters are for her eyes only. Until the day her secret letters are mailed, and suddenly Laura Jean's love life goes from imaginary to out of control. And I've heard so many good things about this series, and I know that there's going to be a TV series based on these books too, so I thought, you know, I found it super cheap at the library book sale. I think this is like $1, so I had to get it. Okay, next up is Codename Verity by Elizabeth Wein. And this is another book that I've heard a lot of talk about on BookTube, and it got really good reviews. So I picked it up. And this says, October 11th, 1943. A British spy plane crashes in Nazi-occupied France. Its pilot and passenger are best friends. One of the girls has a shot at survival. The other has lost the game before it's barely begun. When Verity is arrested by the Gestapo, she's sure she doesn't stand a chance. As a secret agent captured in an enemy territory, she's living a spy's worst nightmare. Her Nazi interrogators give her a simple choice: reveal her mission or face a grisly execution. They'll get the truth out of her, but it won't be what they expect. As she intricately weaves her confession, Verity uncovers her past, how she became friends with the pilot Maddie, and why she left Maddie in the wrecked fuselage of their plane. On each new scrap of paper, Verity battles for her life, confronting her views on courage, failure, and her desperate hope to make it home. But will trading her secrets be enough to save her from a merciless and ruthless enemy? Harrowing and beautifully written, Codename Verity is the story of an unforgettable friendship forged in the face of the ultimate evil. Okay, next up is Push by Sapphire. And this is the story of Precious Jones. It was made into a motion picture, which I never saw, but I did hear a lot about. And everything I've heard, this is an incredible story, but it's also a very sad story. This says, Precious Jones, an illiterate 16-year-old, has up until now been invisible. Invisible to the father who rapes her and the mother who batters her, and to the authorities who dismiss her as just one more of Harlem's casualties. But when Precious, pregnant with the second child by her father, meets a determined and highly radical teacher, we follow her on a journey of education and enlightenment, as Precious learns not only how to write about her life, but how to make it on her own for the first time. And this has won a lot of awards, like National Bestseller, Grand Jury Prize, and Audience Award, and also the Sundance Film Festival. Okay, so next up is Charles Dickens' Best Stories. And it just looks like this. And if it had a jacket, it doesn't anymore. And this is just, like it says, a bunch of his stories, including A Christmas Carol. Okay, next up is Find Her by Lisa Gardner. And I know she writes like thriller kind of books, so I do have a few of her books that I've enjoyed in the past, so I figured I would enjoy this as well. It says, Flora Dane is a victim. 7 years ago, carefree college student Flora was kidnapped while on spring break. For 472 days, Flora learned just how much one person can endure. Flora Dane is a survivor. Miraculously alive after her ordeal, Flora has spent the past 5 years reacquainting herself with the rhythms of a normal life. Working with her FBI victim advocate, Samuel Keynes, she has a mother who's never stopped loving her, a brother who is scared of the person she's become, and a bedroom wall covered with photos of other girls who never made it home. Flora Dane is reckless. Or is she? When Boston detective Dee Warren is called to the scene of a crime, a dead man and the bound, naked woman who killed him, she learns that Flora has tangled with 3 other suspects since her return to society. Is Flora a victim or a vigilante? And with her first-hand knowledge of criminal behavior, could she hold the key to rescuing missing college student whose abduction has rocked Boston? When Flora herself disappears, Dee realizes a far more sinister predator is out there, one who's determined that this time, Flora Dane will never escape. And now it's all up to Dee Warren to find her. Next, I have Novelist's Essential Guide to Creating Plot by James Madison Davis. And this is just helping you with writing. I thought it would be interesting to read. I've been told I should write something, and I've had thoughts on stories, but, you know, reading about writing might be a good start. Okay, so next up is Mine by Katie Evans. And this is actually the second book in a series as well, which I just figured out. So I pulled it up on Goodreads as well. And it is the Real series. So the first book is Real. And it says, a fallen boxer, a woman with a broken dream, a competition. He even makes me forget my name. One night was all it took, and I forgot everything and anything except the sexy fighter in the ring who sets my mind ablaze and my body on fire with wanting. Remington Tate is the strongest, most confusing man I've ever met in my life. He's the star of the dangerous underground fighting circuit, and I'm drawn to him as I've never been drawn to anything in my life. I forget who I am, what I want, with just one look from him. When he's near, I need to remind myself that I am strong, but he is stronger. And now it's my job to keep his body working like a perfect machine, his taut muscles primed and ready to break the bones of his next opponents. But the one he's most threatening to now is me. I want him. I want him without fear, without reservations. If only I knew for sure what it is that he wants from me. Now I just have to find the first book to this. Okay, next up we have French Kiss, which is the sequel to New York Times bestselling South Beach by Amy Friedman. So again, I have pulled up on Goodreads the first book in this series, which, like I said, is called South Beach. This says, hot sand, hot clubs, hot guys. What more could two girls want? Try the same guy. Spring break, South Beach, nuff said. On a trip to a place where anything can happen, and does, two ex-best friends discover that a chance encounter can lead to the chance of a lifetime. Holly. Dream date or bad fate? She wants true love and a break from her strict parents. Perhaps a spring fling will do. Alexa. Flirting with destiny or flirting with disaster? The guy of her dreams turns out to be her friend's first love. How far is she willing to go? This year, spring break is going to be scandalous. And this was along the same lines as continuing that story, and it just seemed like a good summer read. Okay, next up is Blue Blood's Key to the Repository by Melissa de la Cruz. And this is a novella in the Blue Blood series, which I do have several of those, so I went ahead and pulled this off my shelf. This is the first book here in the Blue Blood series, and it's called Blue Bloods. And this says, Skylar Van Allen has never fit in at Duchesne, her prestigious New York City private school. She prefers baggy, vintage clothes to the Prada and pearls worn by her classmates. But when she turns 15, Skylar's life changes dramatically. The death of a popular schoolmate haunts her in unexpected ways. And strangest of all, Jack Force, the most popular boy in school, is showing a sudden interest in her. Once an outcast, Skylar is thrust into Manhattan's most elusive social circle. Its members are the powerful, the wealthy, and, as Skylar soon discovers, the unhuman. They are Blue Bloods, an ancient group of vampires, and for centuries, they've been invincible. Now something is preying on this elite group, and Skylar wants to find out the truth. But is she the most vulnerable of them all? And I have several of these books, so I knew I didn't have this one when I saw it. Okay, next up we have The Almost Moon by Alice Sebold, who is author of The Lovely Bones, which I also have that book. And this says, with fierce intelligence and emotional intensity, Alice Sebold brings us a searing portrait of a mother-daughter bond that descends into murder. Claire and Helen Knightley are parent and child locked in a relationship so unrelenting that they have become the center of each other's worlds. But as this electrifying novel opens, Helen crosses a boundary she never thought she would approach. And while her act is almost unconscious, it somehow seems like the fulfillment of a lifetime's unspoken wishes. Over the next 24 hours, Helen's life rushes in at her as she is forced to confront the choices that have brought her to this one riveting crossroad. As a woman who spent years trying to win the love of someone who had none to spare, she now faces an uncertain and dangerous freedom. With her unflinching ability to confront the violence and danger that lurk beneath life's everyday surface, Sebold explores the complex ties within families, the meaning of devotion, and the thin line that separates us from our most haunting impulses. The Almost Moon is unforgettable, a raw and powerful story of passion and redemption, written with the strength of voice that only Alice Sebold can bring to the page. Next we have Wonder by Rj Palacio. And I've heard nothing but good things about this, and I really want to see the movie, but I want to read this before I go and see the movie. But it looks like it's so good. So this says, August Augie Pullman was born with a facial difference that prevented him from going to a mainstream school until now. He's about to enter 5th grade at Beecher Prep, and if you've ever been the new kid, then you know how hard that can be. The thing is, Augie's just an ordinary kid with an extraordinary face. But can he convince his new classmates that he's just like them, despite appearances? Rj Palacio has written a modern classic, a funny, uplifting, and incredibly moving novel to read in one sitting, pass on to others, and remember long after the final page. And I've heard that this is just amazing, so I'm looking forward to it. Okay, next up is The Lost Queen by Freund Jones. It looks like this on the front. It's missing its jacket, obviously. But this is the second book in the Fairy Path series, and I do have the first book as well as a few other books in the series. So the first book is The Fairy Path by Freund Jones. It looks like this. And this says, Anita was living an ordinary life until an elegant stranger pulled her into another world. Swept away into a court of magic and beauty, she discovers she is Tanya, the lost princess of Fairy. Since Tanya's mysterious disappearance 500 years before, Fairy has been sunk into darkness and gloom. With her return, Fairy comes alive again as a land of winged children, glittering balls, and fantastic delights. But Tanya can't forget Anita's world, or the boy she loved there. Torn between two loves and between two worlds, Tanya slowly remembers why she disappeared, and realizes that she is the only one who can stop a sinister plan that threatens the entire world of Fairy. So I was glad I was able to find the second book to that. I also have the 4th and the 5th book, but I'm missing the 3rd and the 6th book, so I still have to collect those. Okay, so the next book I have here is 50 Shades Darker by E.L. James. And this is the second book in the 50 Shades series. And I actually do have the first book, so I pulled it off my shelf. This says, when literature student Anastasia Steele goes to an interview with young entrepreneur Christian Grey, she encounters a man who is beautiful, brilliant, and intimidating. The otherworldly, innocent Anna is startled to realize she wants this man, and despite his enigmatic reserve, finds she is desperate to get close to him. Unable to resist Anna's quiet beauty, wit, and independent spirit, Grey admits he wants her too, but on his terms. Shocked yet thrilled by Grey's singular erotic tastes, Anna hesitates. For all the trappings of success, his multinational businesses, his vast wealth, his loving family, Grey is a man tormented by demons and consumed by the need to control. When the couple embarks on a daring, passionately physical affair, Anna discovers Christian Grey's secrets and explores her own dark desires. Erotic, amusing, and deeply moving, the 50 Shades trilogy is a tale that will obsess you, possess you, and stay with you forever. And I actually haven't read them or watched the movies. I just never got around to it. But I want to. They're very controversial from what I hear. Alright, next up we have Complete Me by J. Kenner. This says, our desire runs deep, but our secrets cut close. Beautiful, strong, and commanding, Damien Stark fills a void in me that no other man can touch. His fierce cravings push me beyond the brink of bliss and unleash a wild passion that utterly consumes us both. Yet, beneath his need for dominance, he carries the wounds of a painful past. Haunted by a legacy of dark secrets and broken trust, he seeks release in our shared ecstasy, the heat between us burning stronger each day. Our attraction is undeniable, our obsession inevitable, yet not even Damien can run from his ghost or shield us from the dangers yet to come. Okay, next up is Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levin. And what really got me about this book was it said the Stephen King Horror Library. So I figured it must be good. And this says, Rosemary and Guy Woodhouse were delighted at the chance to move into Bramford, one of Manhattan's oldest and most celebrated apartment houses. Their friend Hutch urged them not to. He knew of too many shadows in the Bramfords' past, unsavory tenants like Adrian Marcato, who practiced witchcraft, and the monstrous Trench sisters. But Rosemary and Guy were clear thinking and not at all superstitious. They dismissed Hutch's warnings and moved in. At first they were completely happy. Rosemary hung curtains and planned a nursery for the baby she hoped to have someday. Guy pursued his career as a stage and television actor. They met their neighbors who were friendly and unintrusive. But then one day when Rosemary was down in the basement laundry room, a girl her own age came in. Quietly and with a compelling matter-of-factness, Ira Levin tells a story of mounting terror and icy climactic shock in a book that manages to be wildly entertaining as well. Described by Truman Capote as a darkly brilliant tale of modern deviltry that induces the reader to believe the unbelievable, Rosemary's Baby was both a critical and a popular success when it first appeared in 1967. And in his introduction to this exclusive Stephen King Horror Library edition, King discusses Levin's skill as the Swiss watchmaker of the suspense novel, and expresses his utter admiration for the way the novel takes urban paranoia to the next level, sheer terror. Next we have The Bachelorette Party by Karen McCullough Lutz. And this says, after being left at the altar by her soap star fiancé, LA high school teacher Zadie Roberts wants nothing to do with love and romance. Still, with the help of her best buddy Gray, she may somehow survive the trauma of the wedding that wasn't. That is, until Gray gets engaged to Zadie's prim and proper cousin Helen, and Zadie is dragged back into wedding festivity hell. The coup de grace is Helen's bachelorette party, thrown by her clique of prissy friends and certain to be a day of torture. But when the Pinot Grigio goes down and the sweater sets come off, things get out of control. Helen turns into a girl gone wild and manages to get herself into a sticky situation that just might sink the happy couple for good. And meanwhile, Zadie's own love life takes a most unexpected turn. And it sounded cute and funny and girls' night out-esque. So, looking forward to this one as well. Okay, on to the next book. Next we have I've Got Your Number by Sophie Kinsella. And I've read another book by her that I really enjoyed. So, I got this. This says, I've lost it. The only thing in the world I wasn't supposed to lose, my engagement ring. It's been in Magnus's family for 3 generations, and now, the very same day his parents are coming, I've lost it. The very same day. Do not hyperventilate, Poppy. Stay positive. Poppy Wyatt has never felt luckier. She's about to marry her ideal man, Magnus Tavish. But in one afternoon, her happily ever after begins to fall apart. Not only has she lost her engagement ring in a hotel fire drill, but in the panic that follows, her phone is stolen. As she paces shakily around the lobby, she spots an abandoned phone in a trash can. Finders keepers. Now she can leave a number for the hotel to contact her when they find her ring. Perfect. Well, perfect, except that the phone's owner, businessman Sam Roxton, doesn't agree. He wants his phone back and doesn't appreciate Poppy reading his messages and wading into his personal life. What ensues is a hilarious and unpredictable turn of events as Poppy and Sam increasingly upend each other's lives through emails and text messages. As Poppy juggles wedding preparations, mysterious phone calls, and hiding her left hand from Magnus and his parents, she soon realizes that she is in for the biggest surprise of her life. And I thought it sounded super cute. And next up is a book that I actually got from Marty, and that is Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. And it's based on the movie, and it's got Spock and Captain Kirk on it. And I thought it was cool because it's like a really old version And I don't know when this book came out. Copyright 1982. Very cool. It was stamped by the library in December of '87. I thought Marty would really enjoy that. Okay, so I'm gonna move this giant stack so I can get to the other giant stack behind it. Okay, so here's the other giant stack of books I have to show you. Okay, next up is A Beautiful Bombshell by Christina Lauren. And when I got this, I didn't realize that it was part of a series, but this is actually a novella for Beautiful Bastard series. And this is like book 2.5. So I pulled up on Goodreads what the first book is, which is Beautiful Bastard. And it says, an ambitious intern, a perfectionist executive, and a whole lot of name calling. Whip smart, hardworking, and on her way to an MBA, Chloe Mills has only one problem. Her boss, Bennett Ryan. He's exacting, blunt, inconsiderate, and completely irresistible. A beautiful bastard. Bennett has returned to Chicago from France to take a vital role in his family's massive media business. He never expected that the assistant who's been helping him from abroad was the gorgeous, innocently provocative, completely infuriating creature he now has to see every day. Despite the rumors, he's never been one for a workplace hookup, but Chloe's so tempting he's willing to bend the rules. Or outright smash them, if it means he can have her. All over the office. As their appetites for one another increase to a breaking point, Bennett and Chloe must decide exactly what they're willing to lose in order to win each other. I just have to get the rest of the series now. Alright, next up we have Black Satin by Joan Elizabeth Lloyd. And this says, in this deliciously daring novel, two former college roommates, each a woman in her mid-30s, experience a world of erotic fantasy fulfillment guaranteed to exceed every reader's wildest dreams. Carla, a suburban widow and mother of 3, becomes reacquainted with Ronnie, a glamorous woman whose marriage does not prevent her from leading a mysterious and independent lifestyle. Enticed by the promise of sophisticated sensuality as she learns more about her old friend's business, Carla is led by Ronnie into the exciting world of off-center sex. Together, they decide to offer an exclusive service whereby they assist their attractive male friends in selecting and acting out personalized erotic scenarios. There is Bryce, who enjoys playing doctor, 40-year-old Bobby, a naughty boy in Gucci loafers, who gets his pleasure from being disciplined by his teacher, and Dennis and the other members of an exclusive sex club who give new meaning to the word voluptuary. These and many more accompany Carla and Ronnie into a world where pleasure has few limits. Oh my. It sounds quite steamy. Okay, so this book here is actually the only one that I got that was like a special one, so it costs something different. And I think it's just because it's a really old edition, and that is Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. And let's see, so it looks like this is a copyright of 1955, so pretty old edition. And it's got illustrations that look like this. And yeah, this I paid $5 for. It's a Whitman classic. Okay, next up we have Natchez Burning by Greg Iles, and wow, this is a big book. And I picked this up because Natchez is actually where I was born, and my mom actually went to school with Greg Iles, and I thought that was pretty cool. So this says, an American writer at the height of his creative powers, #1 New York Times best-selling novelist Greg Iles returns with his most eagerly anticipated book yet, and his first in 5 years, Natchez Burning, the first installment in an epic trilogy that weaves crimes, lies, and secrets, past and present, into a mesmerizing thriller featuring Southern mayor and former prosecutor Penn Cage. Raised in the historic Southern splendor of Natchez, Mississippi, Penn Cage learned all he knows of honor and duty from his father, Dr. Tom Cage. But now the beloved family doctor and pillar of the community has been accused of murdering Viola Turner, the African-American nurse with whom he worked in the dark days of the 1960s. Once a crusading prosecutor, Penn is determined to save his father, but Tom, stubbornly invoking doctor-patient privilege, refuses to speak in his own defense. Penn's quest for the truth sends him deep into his father's past, where a sexually charged secret lies waiting to tear their family apart. More chilling, this long-buried sin is only a single thread in a conspiracy of greed and murder involving the vicious Double Eagles, an offshoot of the KKK controlled by some of the wealthiest and most powerful men in the state. Aided by a dedicated reporter privy to Natchez's oldest secrets and by his fiancée, Caitlin Masters, Penn uncovers a trail of corruption and brutality that places his family squarely in the Double Eagle's crosshairs. With every step costing blood and faith, Penn is forced to confront the most wrenching dilemma of his life. Does a man of honor choose his father or the truth? Drenched in southern atmosphere, Natchez Burning marks the brilliant return of a genuine American master of suspense. Tense, disturbing, and filled with electrifying plot twists, this novel commences the most explosive and ambitious story Greg Iles has ever written. And I thought it was really cool to have it just because of, I mean, the story to me does sound interesting, but I also thought it was really cool that, you know, my mom went to school with him and this is where I was born, and yeah. Okay, next up we have The 10th Circle by Jodi Picoult. And this says, 14-year-old Trixie Stone is in love for the first time. She's also the light of her father Daniel's life, a straight-A student, a pretty, popular freshman in high school, a girl who's always seen her father as a hero. That is, until her world is turned upside down with a single act of violence. Suddenly, everything Trixie has believed about her family and herself seems to be a lie. Could the boyfriend who once made Trixie wild with happiness have been the one to end her childhood forever? She says that he is, and that is all it takes to make Daniel, a seemingly mild-mannered comic book artist with a secret, tumultuous past he has hidden even from his family, venture to hell and back to protect his daughter. With The 10th Circle, Jodi Picoult offers her most powerful chronicle yet as she explores the unbreakable bond between parent and child and questions whether you can reinvent yourself in the course of a lifetime or if your mistakes are carried forever. Next we have The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson, and this is one of the great illustrated classics. And I mean, it's the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Next we have Man Whore by Katie Evans. And this says, is it possible to expose Chicago's hottest player without getting played? This is the story I've been waiting for all my life, and its name is Malcolm Kyle Preston Logan Saint. Don't be fooled by that last name, though. There's nothing holy about the man except the hell his parties raise. The hottest entrepreneur Chicago has ever known, he's a man with too much money to spend and too many women vying for his attention. Mysterious, privileged, legendary. His entire life has been surrounded by the press as long as they dig for tidbits to see if his fairy tale life is for real or all mirrors and social media lies. Since he hit the scene, his secrets have been his and his alone to keep. And that's where I come in. Assigned to investigate Saint and reveal his elusive personality, I'm determined to make him the story that will change my career. But I never imagined he would change my life. Bit by bit, I start to wonder if I'm the one discovering him, or if he's uncovering me. What happens when the man they call Saint makes you want to sin? Next, we have another of the great illustrated classics, and this is A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. Looks like this. And then we have The Space Between by Brenna Yavanoff. And this says, everything burns in pandemonium. A city in hell made of chrome and steel, where there is no future and life is an expanse of frozen time. That's where Daphne lives. The daughter of a demon and a fallen angel, she wonders what lies in store for her. Will she become a soulless demon like her sisters, or follow in the footsteps of her brother Obi, whose life is devoted to saving lost souls on Earth? All she wants is to find a place where she belongs. When Obi saves a bleeding, broken boy named Truman from the brink of death and then suddenly goes missing, Daphne runs away to Earth to find him. But on Earth, everything is colder and more terrifying, and Daphne struggles between her demon instincts and her growing, yet achingly unfamiliar feelings for Truman. As Daphne and Truman search for Obi, they must navigate the jealousies and alliances of the violent archangels who stand in their way. But Daphne also discovers, unexpectedly, what it means to love and be human in a world where human is the hardest thing to be. The Space Between is a breathtaking and transcendent new novel about a demon girl's search for love on Earth, from the New York Times bestselling author of The Replacement. Next we have The Complete Stories and Poems of Edgar Allan Poe. And this thing is heavy and really cool. Xander actually likes me reading Edgar Allan Poe to him. He thinks I read it really well, that I sound creepy when I read it. So I thought that was really cool to have this. Next we have Sex, Murder, and a Double Latte by Kyra Davis. And this says, when a mystery writer cries bloody murder, everyone blames her overactive imagination. Thriller scribe Sophie Katz is as hard-boiled as a woman who drinks grande caramel brownie frappuccinos can be. Maybe it's from a lifetime of fielding dumb comments about her half-black, half-Jewish ethnicity. My sister married a Polynesian. I just love your culture. So Sophie knows it's not paranoia or post-divorce, living alone again jitters when she becomes convinced that a crazed reader is sneaking into her apartment to reenact scenes from her books. The police, however, can't tell a good plot from an unmarked grave. When a filmmaker friend is brutally murdered in the manner of a death scene in one of his movies, Sophie becomes convinced that a copycat killer is on the loose, and that she's the next target. If she doesn't solve the mystery, her own bestseller will spell out her doom. Cursing her grisly imagination, why oh why did she have to pick the axe? Sophie engages in some real-life gumshoe tactics. The man who swoops in to save her in dark alleys at night is a mysterious new love interest, Anatoly Darinsky. Of course, if this were fiction, Anatoly would be her prime suspect. With a story as delicious as designer coffee and with twice the jolt, Davis and her muse Sophie Katz will blow you away with sex, murder, and hilarity. And I thought it sounded really cute. Okay, so next I have a set here. I have Mark Twain, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, Mark Twain, The Innocents Abroad, Mark Twain, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, and Mark Twain, Life on the Mississippi. Okay, so this next book is a book that I got for Xander, and it is The Extraordinary Adventures of Ordinary Boy by William Boniface. And I didn't realize this at the time because it has no book jacket, but it's actually book 2, which is The Return of Meteor Boy. So I looked up on Goodreads because I was going to tell you about this book, and that's when I found out it was part of a series. So I have to get the first book before we can read this. So the first book is The Hero Revealed, and it says, in Superopolis, everyone has a superpower. Well, almost everyone. Meet Ordinary Boy. In a town where everyone is a superhero, what if you were the only person with no superpowers at all? Welcome to the life of Ordinary Boy. He's pretty much exactly as his name suggests. But things are not so super in Superopolis these days, with the evil Professor Brain Drain on the loose. To make matters worse, Ordinary Boy and his friends are thrown into the middle of a baffling mystery. Forget superheroes. In a city where everyone is extraordinary, this just might be a job for Ordinary Boy. With black and white illustrations throughout, this celebration of the comic genre is perfect for readers who love the New York Times bestselling Captain Underpants series and Michael Buckley's New York Times bestselling Nerd series, as well as young fans of Marvel and DC Comics, and anyone who's ever longed to be super. And to give you an idea of the illustrations, they look like so. Okay, and then the last book I have here, oh my gosh, we finally got to the last book, is The Girl Who Played with Fire by Stieg Larsson, author of the international bestseller, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And this says, this apparently is the electrifying, hugely anticipated sequel to The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. So, I just pulled up on Goodreads so I could tell you what it says about The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. A spellbinding amalgam of murder mystery, family saga, love story, and financial intrigue. A sensational #1 bestseller, now a major motion picture. It's about the disappearance 40 years ago of Harriet Wenger, a young scion of one of the wealthiest families in Sweden, and about her octogenarian uncle, determined to know the truth about what he believes was her murder. It's about Michael Blomqvist, a crusading journalist recently at the wrong end of a libel case, hired to get to the bottom of Harriet's disappearance. And about Lisbeth Salander, a 24-year-old pierced and tattooed genius hacker possessed of the hard-earned wisdom of someone twice her age and a terrifying capacity for ruthlessness to go with it, who assists Blomqvist with the investigation. But this unlikely team discovers a vein of nearly unfathomable inequity running through the Wenger family, astonishing corruption in the highest echelons of Swedish industrialism, and an unexpected connection between themselves. It's a contagiously exciting, stunningly intelligent novel about society at its most hidden, and about the intimate lives of a brilliantly realized cast of characters, all of them forced to face the darker aspects of their world and their own lives. And yeah, so I guess I need to get the first book to this as well. This, for the size of this, it's surprisingly heavy. I think it's funny how some books are like that. They just seem so much heavier, even though they're, you know, normal size. But this is actually 503 pages. I would not have guessed that. Okay, so that is all of the books that I purchased at the library book sale. Have you read any of them? Did you like them? Did you not like them? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time,